going on, everybody? We're back with another episode of Coordinated Chaos. This week we're going to be recapping what happened in Week 5, and then we're going to be doing a preview of Monday Night Football, which is tonight, as well as the Thursday Night Football game coming up this week. We're going to get right into this one. The Broncos versus the Colts on Thursday Night Football this past week. It was a very ugly game. Basically, Russell Wilson couldn't get it done at the very end of the game. He threw a boneheaded pick, essentially to make the Colts get back into the game there. I don't even really want to talk about this game just because how bad it was. Both teams are struggling right now offensively. Defensively, both teams are playing actually pretty decent. But it was just there was literally no touchdown scored. It was a complete kick fest. So it was not very appealing to the eye when watching it. I had the bet on it. I did a prediction where I thought the Broncos were going to cover the 3.5 point spread there. They could not get it done. So I was a little upset at that, which I will say, though, I am 5-2 on the season against the spread, so I can't be too mad just yet. But yeah, so the Broncos kind of screwed me in that one, but it is what it is. It's football. Crazy stuff happens all the time. Nobody thought the Colts were going to come into that game and win, especially with all the injuries they've been sustaining, especially Jonathan Taylor out. So wild game. Broncos not looking good. They're not really going to stay in contention in that AFC West anymore. And then the Colts are starting to slide in that AFC South as well, but they did get the win. So we'll see if they can keep up in that division, even though the Jags have dropped one here to the Texans. And the Titans just keep winning. So we'll see. That AFC South is getting pretty interesting. But moving forward, let's start talking about the Giants versus the Packers. This was the 9:30 London football game. The Packers go in, and I'm thinking, the Giants, as I've been kind of saying all along, I think they're a fraud 3-1 team. They go in and they lose to the Giants. So the Giants, I'm going to maintain the same sentiment. I still think the Giants are still fraudulent. It could be completely biased, but it is what it is. I just think the Packers are struggling right now. It was a tough spot. They had to travel to London. Both teams did, so you got to give them credit for the win, I guess. But Aaron Rodgers and that team got some figuring out to do, of course, because I just think it's the weapons right now, man. And Aaron Rodgers is going to do a better job of just kind of like helping his guys out and, I don't know, coaching them along as well. Matt LaFleur made some very questionable coaching decisions in that game as well. So him as a head coach is not exactly stock up right this second either. So, Packers take an L that they really shouldn't have in division in the NFC. So that's not good. That's not going to bode well for the fact that the Vikings won again, and they are 4-1 as well as the Giants are now. So those are two big-time teams in the NFC right now, which is super wild to think about. If you would have said that to me at the beginning of the season, I'd have been, that's crazy. That's what I would have said. So it is what it is. Next game, we got Steelers versus Bills. The Bills just ransacked the Steelers. Steelers couldn't get anything going on offense at all. Kenny Pickett was running for his life. That O-line for the Steelers is still struggling a whole lot. So not much to see there. The Bills are just a way better team, and they are maintaining one of those top 3 spots, no matter which way you put them in there in the NFL in total, like who you think are the best 3 teams in football. The Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles have to be in that conversation right now for pretty much everybody. So Bills just roll. They got a tough matchup this upcoming week against the Chiefs, so we'll see. It's going to be some absolute fireworks. Can't wait for that game. But we'll roll on here. Chargers versus Browns. The Chargers and Browns had kind of a slugfest here. It was going back and forth quite a bit. Chargers outlast the Browns here. The Browns are starting to slide a little bit in that AFC North division, so I thought they were going to be able to kind of keep up. They may be able to right the ship a little bit, but they've lost a couple of games here lately, and they're now 2-3. The Chargers are trying to keep pace in that AFC West division with the Chiefs winning. So we will see. The Chargers look pretty good on offense. This is probably the best they've looked all season. I'm still curious to see what that offense is going to finally look like when Keenan Allen does make it back. They're being very cautious with him with that hamstring, because hamstrings are very finicky when it comes to injury-wise. Anything soft tissue can come back very quickly, and I think he may have had a setback last week or the week before, and so I think that's why they're still being very, very slow to get him back out there on the field. All right, so next game, Texans versus Jags. Texans come out and stun the Jags. Everybody thought the Jaguars were, coming onto the scene quick here. They jumped out to a pretty good start to the season. They lost last week, obviously, to my Eagles. People were saying, you know what, they ran into a pretty good team in the Eagles. It was a sloppy, wet game. But it turns out the Jaguars may have more problems than we were kind of letting on. Texans come out and they're able to run the ball with Dameon Pierce. Once again, I will just beat this dead horse, but if you have him in fantasy, man, you are loving life. I don't care if you drafted him a little bit too early. He is paying off right now, and I'm glad I jumped on that bandwagon early in the offseason. But yeah, so Texans get a big win. They're now not winless, which is something that they should be proud of because I feel like there was a chance that it could have went one of those 0-16 type of seasons for them. Well, can't be 0-16 if you have a tie, so you know what I mean there. But basically a winless, whole season. So huge win for them. Huge for their confidence. They still need a QB. Davis Mills is not the guy, so they're going to be looking to be one of those top teams in the draft, this upcoming season. So they'll be looking at the CJ Strouds. They'll be looking at the Bryce Youngs, even the Will Levises of the world. So we'll see what goes, on with the Texans moving forward. But they get a win over the Jags. The Jags got to right the ship this week. So they're going to be playing the Colts, so another division type football game. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Jags can right the ship this week against the Colts, who got a big win. But I don't think I believe in them as much as I believe in the Jags, even though they did lose to the Texans. It's a lot to say. But anyways, we'll move on. Bears versus the Vikings. Vikings escaped one from the Bears. The Bears really jumped out and was way more competitive in this game than I was expecting them to be. But at the end of the day, the Vikings were able to get it done. The Bears' offense is still very hit or miss. And so that's what, essentially was the downfall of that team at the end there. So Vikings keep pace. They're 4-1 now, and I still think they maintain as the number 2 seed in the whole NFC. Number 1 seed, obviously, is my Eagles still at 5-0, but we'll get to that later. Next game, let's go on to another NFC team here, Lions, and then they play the Patriots. The Patriots, man, they just smacked the Lions with Bailey Zappi. So they're on their 3rd string quarterback. They took advantage of how bad that Detroit defense has been all season, and then Detroit could not do anything. But it is a tough spot, I will say, for the Lions to go into New England and face that defense. That defense is still good. It's still ran by Bill Belichick, so you can't take them lightly whatsoever. It doesn't matter, what their offense situation is like right now. Ramondre Stevenson had a very good game for the Patriots, and they just rolled on the Lions. The Lions got some things to figure out, obviously, moving forward. But I wasn't expecting them really to contend this year anyways. If they get to 5-6 wins, I'd be impressed, and that's a great step in the right direction for Dan Campbell and that squad. So Lions take an L. Patriots are still trying to hang around in that division with the Bills and the Dolphins are faltering a little bit. The Jets are playing better, so that's becoming more of a division that people are going to have to watch out for moving forward, no matter who you play in that division. All right, let's go. Next game. Seahawks versus Saints. It seems like the Seahawks are getting into an absolute just fireworks fest every single week at this point. And I don't know if that's just because the Seahawks defense is bad or what's going on. I guess you kind of allude to that, but the Saints put up some good numbers. Seahawks put up crazy numbers as well. Saints end up winning this one. Taysom Hill kind of took over this game, which is something you wouldn't have expected going into the game. I know Andy Dalton was starting, obviously, but he gets kind of banged up, and then Taysom Hill has to come in for relief. And, man, he might be the best all-around football player in the NFL. Like, considering all the skills he has, I should say. He's technically listed as a tight end. He can throw the ball. He threw a touchdown in this game to another tight end in Adam Troutman. He ran in a touchdown. He's on kick return. He's lead blocking as a fullback and a tight end for, Alvin Kamara in that Saints offense. He's doing it all right now. He is super versatile. He's quite a weapon for the Saints to, utilize right now. And if you happen to start Taysom Hill in your tight end spot this week in fantasy, holy smokes, that's almost an automatic W because I think I was looking at it and he got like 38 points. Super wild. But the Saints pull it out in this one. Chris Olave is still balling. Unfortunately, he gets knocked literally unconscious with a concussion after he literally caught a touchdown and got slung down to the ground. His head whipped and hit the turf again. Once again, turf, something that I can't stand in the NFL. They should have grass everywhere. But I digress. Basically, this game was just straight fireworks. DK Metcalf still having a good season. Tyler Lockett having a good season still because Geno Smith himself is doing a very good job running that offense. They don't end up winning the game. It's a tough one. Oh, another thing to mention here is the fact that Kenneth Walker in relief was incredible. So he's going to be a crazy pickup for fantasy this upcoming week on the waivers. If he isn't picked up already in some of your leagues, that's going to be a huge deal. He could be a potential league winner coming off the waiver wire. So people are going to be really going after him this week. All right, next game. We got Dolphins versus Jets. Dolphins coming in this game banged up. Jalen Waddle has a groin. I think it was Tyreek Hill with a quad injury coming into the game. And then we had, obviously, Tua is out because of the concussion thing. Then we have Teddy Bridgewater starting. Literally, if I'm not mistaken, it was literally first drive. He gets slung to the ground, or pushed to the ground, or tackled essentially by Sauce Gardner. He's coming on a cornerback blitz. Hits him into the ground. It's a safety because of intentional grounding. I don't know. It's a little questionable of a call. But he goes out with concussion as well. So then here comes in Skylar Thompson, I think his name was. And he was not even that bad in relief. But the Jets, man, they are starting to roll a little bit. They have way more weapons than people realize. I mean, when you're thinking about Corey Davis as like a pretty decent, he's a first-round draft pick, former at least. And then you have Garrett Wilson, first-round draft pick. Elijah Moore, he's not a first round. I think he's either a second or a third-round draft pick. That's the wide receiving core. Tyler Conklin as a tight end is not a bad option at all. And then you have Breece Hall. And Breece Hall has been balling. He can catch out of the backfield. He can run between the tackles. He is impressive. The Jets defense is flying around. Robert Saleh is obviously defensive-minded head coach. So he's got them playing pretty good football right now. And with the Dolphins team that's banged up like that, man, they just couldn't keep up. And the Jets rolled. They scored over 40 points. When's the last time you can say that happened? So Zach Wilson's playing well. All that young core is doing a really good job, and they have something to be proud of up there in New York. So huge win for the Jets to try to keep up in that division, even though I think it's the Bills to lose, essentially. But we'll go on to the next game here, Falcons versus Bucks. Man, I was so upset on this one because obviously I made the prediction that I thought it was going to be Bucks, covering the 10-point spread. They had it for a while, and then all of a sudden it was just gone. They got to a big lead, and then they just kind of let the Falcons back in this one a little bit. The Falcons have been feisty. You can't sleep on them. Arthur Smith has been doing a pretty decent job. I feel like they run the ball a little bit too much to be a team that's like trying to win games. They just run the ball in really questionable situations and almost too many times. But they stay feisty. They stay physical. It's a competitive football team, and so you can't sleep on them every single week. And that's what happened in this Bucks game. The Bucks came out and laid it to them early, and then I think they took the foot off the gas a little bit and let them back in the game. The Falcons almost win this game. Very, very questionable, unnecessary roughness call on Grady Jarrett, who sacked Tom Brady and kind of slung him to the ground. And I mean, it's a very ticky-tack call, obviously, because I think the only reason it's called is because Tom Brady's literally 45. So any other quarterback that gets slung down like that, no call. You move on. No big deal. Falcons win the game. They don't get screwed, but they get absolutely just, I don't know. It's really unfortunate that the Falcons had to lose in that fashion, with how hard they fought back to get in that game. So it is what it is. Bucks move on. Bucks are obviously in, the driver's seat in that division right now. So we'll see moving forward, but the Bucs are probably going to end up in the playoffs because that division is just so rough right now. Obviously, this week we heard, or actually today I should say, we heard that Matt Rule's been fired as the Carolina Panthers head coach. So at this point, they may be going into a bit of a rebuild mode and might be selling some of their key pieces on their team to get some draft capital to really just reset as a franchise. So, all right, let's go. Next game, we have Titans versus Commanders. And this one, when I was looking at the lines on this game, it was way too close for comfort for me because you never know what kind of game you're going to get out of Carson Wentz and the Commanders. You could get a 400-yard passing, 4 touchdown, 2 interception game from Carson Wentz, and the Commanders eke one out. Or you could get what we had on Sunday, and Carson Wentz ends up throwing a game-sealing interception, even though they had drove the field to essentially try to win that game. But the Titans roll on once again. They're utilizing Derrick Henry as they should and just almost overusing him at this point because that's their biggest advantage on offense right now is just pushing the ball downfield. And, I mean, at this point, the Titans are they're beat up. I mean, they got Treylon Burks going on IR, I think with turf toe or some kind of foot issue. So they're weak in the wide receiving core. So they're really going to have to utilize Derrick Henry in that passing game going forward. And I'm looking forward to it because I have Derrick Henry in 2 fantasy leagues. So don't mind me, but Titans, keep it up, brother. Next game, we have 49ers versus the Panthers. This one was my Logan's lock of the weekend. 49ers roll on this one. Panthers looked inept as they have all season. I mean, it's really a pathetic effort from them. Baker tried to make some things happen, ends up getting hurt at the end of the game. I think he has like a high ankle sprain. He was seen in a boot at the end of the game there. 49ers, like I said, I think they're going to get hot here. They're going to start to get on a little bit of a roll. That offense or the running back. So I didn't even realize that Tevin Coleman got re-signed by the 49ers, and he played in this game and played well, just straight up off the streets, I'm pretty sure. Jeff Wilson Jr. still played phenomenally. You got Debo. He didn't have a crazy day statistically, but, I mean, he's very effective. Brandon Ayuk. I mean, George Kittle even had a pretty good day. So, I mean, the 49ers moving forward are scary. Their defense is unreal. Unfortunately, it looks like at the end of the game there, Emmanuel Mosley did tear his ACL jumping for an interception. So that's a big loss for them in the secondary. But moving forward, I think they're going to be able to kind of just insert some guys in there and hopefully cover that up a little bit. But that defense is scary, and that offense can be scary when Jimmy G is on. So obviously, 49ers get a huge win there. Moving on, we got the Eagles versus Cardinals game. I was sweating on this one, obviously. Eagles go to Arizona where they haven't won since 2001. And I'm expecting, because I watched the Cardinals versus Panthers game last week, and I've seen some Cardinals stuff the weeks before, and I'm just thinking, dude, there's no way the Eagles let them win this game. And it came down to the wire. Kyler Murray made some magic happen. He has to every week to keep them in games because I just feel like sometimes Cliff Kingsbury's game plan is just not very good. Some of his just schemes are very suspect. The way he deploys his running back sometimes is really weird. But they put together a pretty decent plan this week against the Eagles, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which Kingsbury doesn't really touch. That's all Vance Joseph and his blitz schemes. I mean, he got after Jalen Hurts, and something that, as an Eagles fan, I have to keep an eye on for the Eagles side of the ball, Eagles offensive side of the ball, is the fact that it looks like Jalen Hurts does not have any hot reads, any hot routes. So essentially that's like when the Eagles and Jalen Hurts read pressure, like they're going to get blitzed, they're going to have more guys coming than the protection can handle. They don't have a route that he can check to that gets that wide receiver or that tight end, whoever it may be, off their normal route and into what would be considered a hot route, which is somebody goes very short into a route and then cuts it off and looks at the QB to get that ball out quick. So the pressure of the blitz does not actually get there. It looks like the Eagles' hot route is literally just Jalen Hurts scrambling, and that is a problem going forward for the Eagles. They have to figure out a way to get around that. They can't let that be the way it is, unfortunately. So, I don't know. The Eagles squeezed it out, and Jalen Hurts makes a huge play throwing the ball to Dallas Goedert. I think it was on a third down to get the chains moving and then eventually get us into field goal range. We got down there towards the goal line, couldn't get into the end zone, kick a field goal with a backup kicker because our kicker last week got hurt in that rainy game against the Jags. So we have a rookie kicker in there kicking a field goal. It's good. So now we have to hold the Cardinals to either a field goal or we can't let them score a touchdown. Obviously, that's just going to end the game. So Cardinals drive down there. It's a big deal. Murray is running all over the place, essentially. They really didn't know. They didn't have an answer for Kyler Murray's legs, essentially, in this game. So they get down there. It's close. Kyler Murray scrambles one more time on a third down and slides instead of diving for the first down. And he thought he had the first down. So he gets right up, goes to the line, goes to spike it. It makes it fourth down because he didn't realize he didn't get the first down. So he makes it 4th and 1 while spiking it. So it essentially made the Cardinals have to kick the field goal rather than give them a few more shots at the end zone because I think there was still, at that point, 20-some seconds left in the game. So unfortunately, that's what happened for the Cardinals. I mean, it's a little bit of a lack of awareness by, at the very least, Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury because, as a running QB, you have to have the awareness that wherever you begin the slide is where they're going to spot the ball, not where you end up sliding. And then Cliff Kingsbury has to be aware of what the ref is, calling on that so Kyler doesn't go back to the huddle and then go to spike it. So essentially, at that point, they make them try the field goal attempt. It's another rookie kicker because Matt Prater got hurt in the Panthers game last week. So we had 2 rookie kickers because of injuries in the previous week on both sides of the ball. And Matt Amendola kicks it wide right, and the Eagles go on to win the game. That's all she wrote, which I will say it was a scary game. It should have never been that close with the Cardinals, but that is just a sign of at the end of the day, it's a sign of a good football team. The Eagles should have really lost that game in many different ways, and they still were able to find a way to just get it done at the end of the day. So, they're 5-0. I can't really complain too much, but you have a tall task ahead of you on Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys. So we're going to see how that goes, but I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we can go to 6-0 before the bye week the next week, and we'll just keep rolling. But Eagles 5-0, I'm loving it. Can't complain. All right, next game, Cowboys versus the Rams. This was another one of my bets that I predicted. I really liked the Cowboys and the points here. They were plus 5.5 in this matchup against the Rams, which I didn't really understand whatsoever. I thought there was a decent chance that the Cowboys could win this game, and that's essentially what happened at the end there. So the Rams, man, it came true that the O-line of the Rams still struggling, still bad. The offense is Cooper Kupp or nothing at this point in time. They can't run the ball because they can't really pass protect. It's literally just an amalgamation of just why you need a good O-line. If there's any evidence you need, just go watch the Rams play football and ask yourself why people draft linemen so early, in the NFL draft. It's really just, you have to have it. It is such an important part of the game. And the Rams are finding out the hard way. Andrew Whitworth retires. They lost some pieces in free agency on that offensive line. They thought they could just kind of plug and play, and it has not worked out for them. The Rams defense is actually pretty decent. The Cowboys had a little bit of trouble scoring in this game, but Cooper Rush, once again, he's just doing what he has to do to get the job done, passing the ball to CeeDee Lamb. They're running the heck out of the ball with Zeke and Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard has a crazy long, really good run in this game for a touchdown. And so they're getting it done right now. We'll see if they can continue it against the Eagles on Sunday night. That's going to be a great matchup. That's going to be huge for the NFC East division to see who comes out. Because literally, if the Eagles lose that game to the Cowboys, even though they would be at that point 5-1, still have the best record, they would be second in the NFC East in the division because of how good the Giants and the Cowboys have been. So it's super, super wild division this year. The NFC least usually has turned into the NFC beast. So NFC East is balling right now. But let's move on to the next game we have, which is the Bengals versus the Ravens. That was last night, Sunday Night Football. Knockdown, drag out, normal AFC North matchup between these two teams. I thought, honestly, going in, I didn't want to touch this in prediction-wise against the spread, anything like that, because it's AFC North. Anything can happen at any time. I thought the Bengals were going to be able to do something a little bit more with the Ravens in this game. The Bengals the last couple years have had their number a little bit. And I think they beat the Ravens twice last year in the regular season. So I was going into this game thinking, you know what, the Ravens defense has been struggling a bit. I think they're going to be able to get off. The problem was Zach Taylor had some questionable play calls. T. Higgins was dealing with an ankle injury, which proved to be a little bit worse than I guess he was letting on, the team was letting on. I started him in fantasy and, did surprise picks with him, and he basically didn't catch a singular ball. He didn't run that many routes. And at the end of the day, Zach Taylor in the press conference was saying that, if it came down to a certain situation, he would have put T. Higgins in the game. But I'm just thinking, the game was close. What other situation do you not put him in that game? So, really weird decision by Zach Taylor. Weird coaching. I still don't know if I believe in Zach Taylor 100%. I know he went to the Super Bowl last year, but, man, he still makes some very conservative, weird play calls. With a team that is just can be so explosive if he lets it be explosive. But the Ravens, man, they get the job done. The defense kind of shores up a little bit. They didn't let the Bengals go crazy in this game. Lamar Jackson, he's probably MVP at this point, even though Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are 5-0 right now. I think you have to give it to Lamar. It's tough right now. Between Lamar, Josh Allen and the Bills, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, Mahomes and the Chiefs, you have a lot of people vying for that MVP conversation right now, and it's really fun to watch, even though in totality in the NFL there's been a lot of sloppy, kind of ugly football as of late, but you got to give Lamar credit where it's due, because he is just dragging that Ravens offense, kicking and screaming, through these games, and he's winning them by himself essentially, because he's throwing to Devin Duvernay. Rashad Bateman was out in this game. J.K. Dobbins is on a snap count, so he didn't play basically the second half of the game. Kenyon Drake's in there, just in fulfillment there. I don't know. The Ravens just roll on. They're obviously in the driver's seat, I think, in that division right this second. So we'll see going forward. But the Ravens look like the best team in that division right now. All right. We're going to go on to the previews and predictions here. Monday Night Football tonight, Chiefs versus Raiders. There's no way I can't say that the Chiefs are going to win this game. The Raiders, even though they did win last week, I think they showed that they're on their way to finding themselves offensively. I hope they can show a little bit more offensively this week and kind of, throw that ball around to all their weapons. They have too many weapons not to utilize them. You got Devontae Adams, you got Hunter Renfrow, you have Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs. They should have, they should score a ton of points each week, no matter what defense they're playing. But it just doesn't happen each week. The Raiders' defense is very suspect as well, for the most part. But yeah, the Chiefs are just rolling right now. The Chiefs are good. Pat Mahomes is doing Pat Mahomes things, especially like he did last week in Tampa Bay. So we're going to see him probably work some magic this week, or tonight, I should say. And then Travis Kelce just has a knack for destroying the Raiders. So I wouldn't doubt if he goes crazy tonight. But yeah, Chiefs are going to win this game. It's not really a hard one for me to pick. let's move on to the Thursday night football game, which is, once again, it's going to be like a Colts versus Broncos of last week type of ordeal here. But at least I think there's going to be a lot more scoring in this. There's going to be touchdowns because at least both defenses can let up big plays, and there's probably going to be fumbles and interceptions and stuff. Thursday night football, Commanders versus the Bears. Good Lord, I about said the Browns. So Bears and Commanders, two teams that are kind of struggling right now. The Bears don't trust their QB. The Bears defense is pretty solid. Commanders shouldn't trust their QB, but it looks like they do, and that's Carson Wentz, and he's throwing game-sealing interceptions in games against the Titans and whatnot, turning the ball over a ton against the Eagles, losing to the Cowboys. I mean, the Commanders are in a little bit of a scramble mode here. It'd be huge for them to get a win here. The Bears, I mean, I don't know if they even want to win this game as a franchise at this point because it looks like they're heading for rebuild mode as well, which is not a good sign for the future of Justin Fields. But in this one, man, this is such a tough one. I think, and I didn't even look at this, I think it's in Chicago, but I think I'm going to go with the Bears in this one. I think I'm going to go with the Bears. People are going to say, oh, that's biased because it's in Washington. You hate them. They're in the Eagles division. I have a feeling that Carson Wentz is going to make too many mistakes in this game. And at the end of the day, the Bears defense will take advantage of some of those mistakes. They'll get the run game going. Even though the Commanders' run defense has been solid this year, they didn't look too hot against Derrick Henry, but nobody really does. So we'll see. It's going to be, I won't say a good matchup because nobody really wants to tune into this game, just like nobody really wanted to tune into Colts versus Broncos, but it's the NFL. We're going to tune in because we're psychopaths and we love this stuff. So I'll be into it. I'll be in Vegas, so I'll probably end up betting on this in real time, in real life. I might even make a little video of it, so you'll see me there. So the reason why we're doing the podcast a little bit early this week is because we are going to be traveling to Vegas, me and my wife and a bunch of our friends, because of some work stuff. So we'll be there. I will be doing the predictions and whatnot in the heart of it all. So just stay tuned for my gambling predictions and any other videos I may just post out there this week moving forward. So it's going to be really fun. Follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. I am now on YouTube Shorts as well as here in the long form on YouTube. So subscribe, like, hit the bell. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Once again, shout out to my guy Weston for editing this. He is the man. He does a great job every week, and he does it without complaining and without pay. So I really need to do some nice stuff for him moving forward. But pretty much that's it, and we'll see you next week. Peace.